can still acknowledge the feelings your inner child had, but now adult you is online. And if you're going to move through this belief, you have to give yourself the opportunity to re-parent yourself.
Welcome to Did I Stutter with Jill Perick. And yeah, I probably did because I have a stuttering disability. But I'm also a multiple six-figure business and mindset coach who's here to help you shut down the mindfuckery of imposter syndrome, self-doubt, and playing the nice girl in your content so you and your brand can blow the fuck up and so you can stack the motherfucking cash. I'm holding absolutely nothing back. We're talking marketing, messaging, mindset, subconscious healing, nervous system regulation, and how to do it all even with raging anxiety, ADHD, and just being a fucking human. If fuck is one of your favorite words and nothing can get in between you, your iced coffee, or the work that you're here to do, I'm your girl. Let's dive in.
You'll be surprised or not surprised to know that a lot of the work that I do with my clients when it comes to like the mindset and the belief work, a lot of it has to do with our inner child. And I am no stranger to this kind of work because when I first started out, I was a mindset coach, and a lot of the things that I was teaching on and working through with my clients was on the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is a sponge and absorbs everything that is being thrown at it between the ages of 0 and 7. But I also believe that like we are just so impacted by all of the experiences we have up until even like when our frontal lobe develops a friggin' 25, you know? And I definitely feel like there are a lot of experiences as children that we absorb that just affect us even to this day. As like a 33-year-old woman, I still have experiences that bring me back to when I was a kid and what I learned from that situation. And it's not to play the victim. It is not to hold myself back, but it is to give context of like, okay, I wonder where this belief came from or where this thought came from. And funnily enough, it comes from it forms a lot of my beliefs around money, and that is very common for people that are business owners and people that like run their own business and receive it, because a lot of us have experiences as kids that are going to form the way that we think about money and deservingness and worthiness. So a lot of inner child work comes up, and the reason why I wanted to talk to you about it today on the pod is because on one of my calls for the Real Deal Mastermind, a client was talking about, you know, she feels like receiving through her business is a blocked channel because she has an in-person component of her business and then she has an online component of her business. And she definitely feels like the channel is more unblocked from seeing clients in person, billing them through insurance, etc., etc. But the online component has been harder for her to unblock that channel. And when I'm talking about channels, I'm talking about how you can receive through channels, and if you have the belief that it's going to be easy or simple. So for example, I had a client who like really had the channel of like receiving through her husband. It was so easy, but like through her husband's business, blah, 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 blah. It was so easy for her to feel into the fact that she can receive through that channel. So of course, that's how it came to her, because when it comes to money, we believe that we can receive, and that is what enables us to receive through that channel, because the more that we believe it, the more we have thoughts that are conducive to it, the more we put our energy into it, blah, 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 blah. It's just like having a full-time job, and like you know in your fucking heart and soul that you are going to get a paycheck every Thursday, right? Like without a doubt, I knew that I was going to get a check, so I would go to work and I would clock in and I would do all of that, blah, blah, blah. I knew it was coming, and so it did. It is easy for us to believe that. But when you have a business, it's harder for us to believe that it can come through you, that you are the channel that it's coming through, and that you can get paid simply for being yourself and for the offers that you create. And as you grow your business, this becomes easier. It becomes way easier to believe it. But you'll have different levels of nuance of like, okay, I think I can receive $33, but I don't know how I would ever receive $3,000. And then it happens, and then you grow and you change and you evolve your business and you get more clients, and that's when you go through, you know, raising your rates and doing all of that. Okay, so you have these channels, right? And your business is a channel. And when you have beliefs or behaviors or things that are blocking the channel, it's blocking your belief that the channel can be cleared and you can receive through that channel. And sometimes it's not like it's totally friggin' blocked. Sometimes it's just like, I know I have some beliefs that hold me back from fully receiving a 20K month or a 30K month. You can still receive through that channel, but sometimes the beliefs you have are blocking it from being fully cleared. So I wanted to kind of give you that visual of the channels because it may help you actually uncover what are the blocks in this channel that I'm experiencing and how can I start moving through them. So my client knew that there were these blocks that were coming up, and she actually realized that she had an experience in her childhood that she really related to being greedy or selfish, and over in her head she would like visualize this experience, and she's like, that's where this belief came from. It was greedy or selfish to want things for myself, to have more than enough, right? And this was a belief that was blocking her from receiving through her business, having more than enough, making 10K to 20K months, all of that stuff, right? And how I coached her and the conversation we had is also, the reason why I'm telling you this story today is so you can do the inner child work at home and you can figure out how to do it without getting stuck in the belief and getting stuck in the experience as a child. Because here's the thing, when you have that experience as a kid, whether it's about money or it's about love or it's about belonging, whatever it taught you, okay? First, we have to have complete empathy for that version of you. The child version of you really could only absorb things and didn't know how to create meaning out of anything. So what do? They are not able to get the outside context. They are not able to get all of the context that they need to understand about the situation. Meaning, we could take somebody's behavior and interpret it as there is something wrong with me, I did something bad, even if that's not the truth, even if that's not the truthful experience. So for example, when I was a kid, I had a lot of experiences where people would laugh at me because of my stutter, or they would make fun of me, or they would make comments, right? And even though I could interpret it very differently now, as a kid, right, I interpreted it as like, I'm wrong, I am stupid for having a stutter, I'm bad for having a stutter, I'm wrong for having a stutter, instead of being an adult now and realizing, oh, that person was like laughing because they're uncomfortable, that person was laughing or making fun of me because they were uncomfortable, or they were a rude ass fucking bitch, or they were a terrible person, or they like didn't know what they were doing or how it was going to impact somebody else. Like, there are a million different scenarios that I could surmise from a situation like that. Like, I can take it in every which way, but as a kid, that is not my experience. My experience is I receive whatever is happening and I don't have the information or the context to see it differently because I'm just a kid and I'm just learning what things mean. So of course I'm going to make it about me. This is like when kids' parents get divorced. And even though, of course, it is not because of the kids always make it about themselves, because that's just what a child's brain does. And it doesn't mean that it's correct. It just means that's how they interpret it, right? So as a kid, you interpreted whatever experience you have as the truth. And I need you to have compassion and understanding for that version of you that took that as the truth. Right? So being in your inner child and doing this work, and it could look like you having a conversation with yourself in the mirror. It could look like you like writing it down and being like, this is the way that I interpreted that experience at that age, at that time. I made it mean all of these things, okay? Because right now, your inner child is online, but they only have the bare bones context. And when we get triggered or when things come up like this, we have to remember that. We have to remember I had the bare bones context of that. So if I was in a speaking situation as an adult and I started feeling like, oh my God, I'm going to be embarrassed or someone's going to laugh at me, blah, 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 I could internalize that and think it's because I'm embarrassing, because there's something wrong with me. But this is when adult self needs to come online, because adult you is online. And this is where people don't know how to do this work. This is where you come in as adult version of you with all the wisdom that you have, with all the knowledge that you have. Again, you can still acknowledge the feelings your inner child had. You can still understand where they were coming from. You can still be angry with whoever else was in that situation with you, right? But now adult you is online. And if you're going to move through this belief, you have to give yourself the opportunity to re-parent yourself. An adult you is able to look at the situation and be like, okay, what things were now happening outside of me? It's kind of like if you're thinking about a circle, okay? And like child version of you is inside of that circle, but you can only see within that circle, okay? And it's like tight around you. It's like this is the smallest circle, but adult you is outside of the circle, and they can see an even bigger circle around that smaller circle, and they can be like, oh, here is all of the context to that. We are not excusing behaviors. We are not saying, oh, because your parents were immigrants and they had this belief and blah, 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 it was right for them to treat you that way or to talk to you in that way or to pass down that belief, right? We're not saying that. We are not excusing anybody's behaviors or any of that stuff, but it's important for the context, because a victim will always make it mean something about them and they refuse to look past it. Right? So if you're stuck in a belief, it's because you're refusing to be able to see the context that adult you can see and look beyond it and make it mean something else. I also do this work a lot with the subconscious mind, where we go down into the event and we get the actual learnings and context from the event as adult you, because adult you is online, okay? And even though the small version of you can be upset, you can be mad, you can be sad, you can be all of these things, adult you is now online and needs to take the reins and start moving towards a solution, because then you can actually overcome these beliefs that are coming up for you. And now adult you is online and she can get all of the context and she can understand why that person said what they said or why they did what they did, and what you can actually learn from that experience that will now take you into the future. If you have a belief that has been formed from an experience like I'm greedy or I'm selfish, adult you now has the context that she knows that is not true, that she knows that there is more information now and that there is a different belief that she wants to step into, and she can release the hold that experience has, because this is just a very normal and natural part of growing up as well. I'm sure you can look back on a lot of experiences in your early 20s or when you were a teenager and you were like, fuck, I know so much better now, right? Like, I've had experiences where I've interacted with friends or where I've interacted with like my parents and gotten in trouble or something like that. And like, they're like, when you're an adult, you'll understand. And you always, as a teenager, you're like, no, like they're not going to get me. They don't get me. I'm going to feel this way when I'm an adult. And then you always learn and you always grow from it. And then you always realize like, wow, like I can't believe that I used to think that, or that I used to believe that, right? And we all have those experiences in life and we give ourselves grace and compassion for those. So why can't we look back on these experiences that formed our beliefs and think the same thing and have compassion and grace and love and support for that younger version of ourselves, while at the same time bringing our adult self online and bringing that mature version of ourselves online. And if you feel stuck at this point, this is a great opportunity for you to realize where there is a part of you that still wants to play the victim, that wants to self-sabotage, that is not content on healing. Whenever I hear somebody say, Jill, how do I change a belief? You believe the opposite. You believe the opposite, and whenever you have the thought, you think in the opposite direction. You choose to put your focus on the thing that you actually want to create and do. And people don't want to hear that because they're like, it needs to be deeper than that. It needs to be subconscious. It needs to be something that like I can just change on a whim, but actually a belief is just a thought you've had over and over and over again. So by changing the way that we interpret our experiences, by allowing ourselves to do that instead of being so firm on like, but this is the experience I had and this is exactly what I as a kid made it mean, so I'm going to choose to believe this for the rest of my life, right? That is now you being stubborn and you being actually content with the contents of that experience and you not wanting to change the belief. And that's what you need to look at. I always give my grandma shit. She's actually my Omi, and I talked about her in my book, You're Not Special. I talk about it how she goes to the grocery store and she doesn't get the good avocados. Now, her and my grandfather have a lot of money, but she is a German woman who grew up during the war, and she walked to Holland without any shoes on with the rest of her family when she was like 5 years old. I tell her story too in You're Not Special. And I think that it's so incredible because she came from such meager means, and then she came to Canada with my first grandfather, and he actually passed away before I got the chance to meet him and all of these other things, right? But she had a very difficult upbringing and she didn't come from a lot. She came to Canada with maybe like 60 cents. You know what I'm saying? Like very typical immigrant story. And she'll still act like she's that broke, poor version of herself. And I'll have to say like, Omi, like you can afford to do that, or like you can do that. And she'll be like, I remember when I came over from Germany and blah, 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 blah. And I'll be like, but that's not your reality anymore. Like you can change your beliefs. You can change what you think and what you know, even if that is your experience. So I think even though I'm not intent on like changing her experience or changing her beliefs, if you are a business owner and you're getting caught in this, if you're getting stuck in this, there may be a piece of you, there may be a little bit of shadow work in this that is saying, but I don't want to believe something different. I don't want to believe that because that would require me to let go of that identity, right? Because if I don't believe that I'm greedy or selfish for wanting more, that I learned from that experience as a kid, then that would mean that I would have to want more, acknowledge that I have desires beyond just making a couple grand a month and going to a full-time job or whatever it is. It means stepping into a new identity. Every time you create a new belief or you're thinking to step into it, it's not just about the thought. It's also about like who you believe you are and how you believe others see you. So when you're doing your inner child work, or when you hit up against a trigger that you know comes from an experience as a kid, or you eventually are able to make the connection back to you being a child and you being like, fuck, like that is where this belief came from because I had this experience with my dad or with my mom or with my grandparents or with this person at school or something like that. And the limit does not exist in terms of like how many experiences we have as kids really shape and form our lives and our beliefs, right? Also remember that even though your inner child comes online for that thing, for that experience, for that belief, that adult you is online too. And inner child you needs to be acknowledged and validated and given compassion to and loved on. And she also needs to meet adult version of you who can give her context and who can say, that was your experience, but now we're going to move forward and this is what we're going to choose to believe because now we have all this context and we know that in order to get to the next level in income, in our lives, in the way that we see ourselves, we have to believe something differently and we have to put evidence and thought into that new belief and think differently so it finally becomes our reality. And then the more that belief shows up for you, the more you give yourself permission to believe it. Okay, I love you guys so much. I hope you loved this episode. It was a lot deeper than the other ones, and it was a lot more about the belief side of things, the subconscious side of things. And when you're ready to do this work with me, so you can sell the fuck out of your offers, grow a big fucking business, do all the things mindset and strategy related that are going to help you build that big business and make all the money that you fucking desire, make those 10 to 20K months and beyond, come and work with me in the Real Deal Mastermind or one-to-one coaching. I love you guys so much and I'll see you next week.